Practice problems, part 2 for the geometry midterm. Okay, we're looking to find the angle indicated with a question mark right here. All right, we have these two angles, and we're going to find this one right here. The angles inside of a triangle add up to 180. Okay, so for this one here, we're just going to do 180 minus the sum of these two angles, 64 plus 57. So this right here is going to be 121, and 180 minus 121 is 59. And now on the bottom here, we have a straight line. So we're going to combine these three angles right here. Okay, a straight angle equals 180 degrees. So I'm going to subtract these two from 180. All right, that's just going to be 180 minus 45 plus 59. And this right here, 45 plus 60 is 105. So this is going to be 104. 180 minus 104 is going to give us 76. And then finally, we have these two angles. So in order to get this, the angles inside of a triangle add to 180. We're going to subtract 32 plus 76. All right, this is 108. 180 minus 108 is going to be 72. So that is your final answer. Okay, 26, what is the slope of the line? Slope is change in y over change in x. You want to subtract both of them going the same way. Okay, so the y's we'll do first. I'm going to do 4 minus -1. And the x's, same thing. -7 minus 4. Two negatives in a row is positive. 4 plus 1 is 5. Two negatives, -7 minus 4 is -11. 5 over -11 is the same as -5 over 11. Number 27, triangle congruence. Look for this X shape here. Okay, the two straight lines make vertical angles. Vertical angles, the angles across from each other, are congruent. Okay, so those angles are the same measurement. And now we have side, angle, side. Side, angle, side. So that's abbreviated SAS. The angle is in between. See this angle? It's in between the two sides that are congruent. So it's SAS. 28, very similar. You mark the, you look for that X shape and you mark the vertical angles, the ones across from each other. Congruent and congruent, you mark them. And now we have angle, angle, side. Angle, angle, side. That's abbreviated AAS. Now see, the side is not in between the two angles. If it were, this side would be right here. So that would be angle, side, angle. But that's not what we have. When the side is not in between the two angles, it's AAS. Number 29, solve for x. Notice we have two congruent sides. Okay, the 8.1 matches the 8.1. For any given triangle, congruent sides also have congruent angles. So you just go across from side to angle. And that's 42. Across the same congruent side to the angle. If this is 42, then that angle is also 42. All right, the three angles inside of a triangle add to 180. So 42 plus 42 plus x equals 180. Okay, combine the like terms. That's 84 plus x equals 180, and subtracting 84 on both sides, it cancels here, and x is going to equal 96. So really, you just subtract these two from 180, the sum of these two. Okay, the diagram below, AC is 29. So the distance all the way from A, really I should write it different. The distance from A all the way to C is 29. All right, and BC is 3x plus 7. And AB is 6x minus 18. AB is right here. All right, so you just do segment addition. AB plus BC equals AC. All right, AB is 6x minus 18. BC is 3x plus 7. AC is 29. It's in the problem. Okay, combining like terms, we're just adding here. We have 6x plus 3x. So that's going to give us a 9x. And then the constant term, negative 18 and positive 7 is negative 11. And that equals 29. Adding 11 to both sides. 11 minus 11 cancels. Bring down your 9x, and 29 plus 11 is 40. Dividing both sides by 9 in order to solve for x. X is 40 over 9. In this case, I said nearest tenth. Okay, so if I did 40 over 9, I get 4.4 repeating. Right? It just keeps repeating. So just looking at the second decimal, since it's less than 5, I'm going to round it down. And it's just 4.4. All right, number 31, in this problem, it's given that K is the midpoint. So if K is the midpoint, that means JK equals KL. All right, and it says JK is 4x minus 12. KL is x plus 8. All right, I always like to subtract the smaller x. You want to get x's on one side. So I usually subtract the smaller one to keep it positive. 4x minus x is 3x. All right. And now since x's are on this side, I want to get rid of negative 12. And the opposite is positive 12. You do that to both sides. 12 minus 12 cancels. Bring down the equals. X minus x cancels. And 8 plus 12 is 20. This is x times 3. The opposite of times 3 is divided by 3. So 20/3. Again, I asked nearest tenth. So if I do 20 divided by 3 on the calculator, I get 6.666. It just keeps going. Okay, so one decimal place, you look at the second decimal. If it's 5 or more, you round it up. So that's just 6.7. All right, this equation here for these three problems, this one is in the form of y equals mx plus b. All right, the slope of the line is m. So we're looking for m. It's the number that's multiplied by x. So we can clearly see that m is just negative 4. All right, slope of the line that is perpendicular. You want to find the negative reciprocal. So there's two steps. You flip it. And change the plus minus sign. All right, so we have -4, and that's the same as -4/1. Okay, so flip it. So it's going to be -1/4. And then change the plus minus sign. That makes it +1/4. So that's the slope of a perpendicular line. Finally, the y-intercept. We're looking for which number is representing B. We can see right there that B is -5. Okay, equation of the line and point slope form. This is the equation here. So I'll give you this formula if you're in college prep, but even if you're in honors, the multiple choices will all be in this form. So we said a minute ago, the slope is represented by the letter M. So M is just 4/3. And the point that you plug in, it goes into X1 and Y1. All right, so let's do that. We'll start with Y minus Y1. So it's going to be minus -1. And that equals M, which is 4/3, times X minus X1, which is 7. Okay, remember the two negatives in a row make it positive. So this is just Y plus 1. All right, just to fix that, it's just Y plus 1. Final answer. All right, you don't distribute for point slope form. You just leave it. All right, this one here, we're looking to find QP. So we're looking to find this length right here. All right, now notice these two congruent sides. This is a midpoint. And these two congruent sides. This is a midpoint. When it goes from midpoint to midpoint, that's going to be a mid-segment. Okay, and the mid-segment equals half of the side that it's not connected to, half of the third side. So we ignore this side and we ignore this side. We ignore the sides it's connected to, and we look at the side that it's parallel to. So it's just half of this side. All right, half of 38. So half times 38 is basically the same as 38 divided by 2. And 38 divided by 2 is just 19. So the mid-segment is half the side it's parallel to. All right, length of KC right here. If KG is 17.9, the blue segments are medians. Okay, if these are medians, the formula vertex to centroid equals 2/3 times the median. All right, KG is the whole thing here from K to G. That's 17.9. So vertex to centroid, the point where the medians meet is the centroid. And if you go from vertex to centroid, that is going to be 2/3 of the whole thing. So this is KC right here. And that equals 2/3 of the median, which is the whole thing, KG. All right, just for your information, median goes from vertex to midpoint. So we're looking at 2/3 times 17.9. Now, if you know how to do fractions on the calculator, that's great. If not, what you're going to do is 2 times 17.9 on the calculator. And then for the final step, you're dividing by 3. So you just do that on the calculator. 2 times 17.9 divided by 3. And I get 11.933 repeating. All right, and if we do 1 decimal place, you look at the second decimal. If it's less than 5, you round it down. So that's 11.9. All right, least to greatest, side lengths. So we want to find the missing angle first. And we subtract these two from 180. So it's just going to be 180 minus 63 plus 56. All right, 180 minus 63 minus 56. I get 61. All right, so the least or the shortest side is going to be across from the smallest angle. You go from angle to side. This side here is AC. So that's the least. The medium side, out of these two, you go from the 61, that's the medium angle, to the medium side right here. This is AB. And now the greatest or the longest side is across from the biggest angle. 63 is the biggest angle. You go across. This side right here is BC. So BC is the longest. AC is the shortest. So you go across from the smallest angle to get the smallest side, across from the biggest angle to get the biggest side. 39, possible value for angle JKM. All right, if we go JKM, that's this angle right here. All right, we're using the hinge theorem. See this side shared by both triangles? Mark that one. The hinge theorem, you compare the angles that are in between the two congruent sides. Okay, across from this angle, the side length is 10. Across from this angle, the side length is 8. So since 8 is less than 10, this angle has to be less than 28. Okay, so JKM, measure of angle JKM, is going to be less than 28 degrees. So any multiple choice that's less than 28 would work, as long as it's not negative or 0. 40, the triangle has side lengths of 6 and 19. What's the range of possible values for the third side? All right, we're going to let the third side equal x, and we're dealing with 6 and 19. So x is going to be less than the sum, but x is going to be greater than the difference. So difference means subtract. You got to put the bigger number first, or else you're going to get a negative. So put the 19 first, minus 6. And sum, of course, is just adding 6 plus 19, or 19 plus 6. 19 minus 6 is 13. 13 is going to be less than x, and 19 plus 6 is 25. So the third side is between 13 and 25. All right, it can't be equal to. It has to be greater than 13 and less than 25. Okay, coordinates for triangle ABC are right here. What are the coordinates of the centroid? So this is actually easy. You want the average x and the average y. So there's 3 points on a triangle. How do you find the average of 3 numbers? Well, you just add them and divide by 3. So we're going to do x1 plus x2 plus x3 divided by 3. And then we're going to do y1 plus y2 plus y3 divided by 3. Okay, so for the x's, -3, 9, and -2. So -3 plus 9 plus -2, that's divided by 3. And the average y, you do the y's, 8, -5, and +11. 8 plus -5 plus +11, all divided by 3. Okay, and this is going to be a point. -3 plus -2 is -5, plus 9 is 4. and that's over 3. 8 plus 11 is 19, minus 5 is 14, and that's over 3. That's it. You don't want a decimal, you want to just leave it over 3. So that would be your centroid. (42) What is the value of x in the triangle below? Okay, this is standard Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. Remember, for c squared, it always has to be across from the right angle. So the right angle is basically pointing at the side length that you're going to call c. That's your hypotenuse. For a and b, it doesn't matter which is which. So I'll let a equal 3, and I'll let x equal b. All right, so a squared is going to be 3 squared. B squared is going to be x squared. And c squared is going to be 11 squared. All right, 3 times 3 is 9. X squared is just x squared. 11 times 11 is 121. Solving for x squared, I want to get rid of this 9. The opposite of positive 9 is minus 9. Cancels. Bring down your x squared and your equals. 121 minus 9 is 112. Okay? And now, solving for x squared, the opposite of squaring something is to take the square root. So I'm going to do the square root of 112 on my calculator. Please use your calculator and not your phone. And I get 10.583. And it keeps going. All right, if we wanted to do one decimal, you look at the second decimal. If it's 5 or more, you round it up. So x is approximately 10.6. Okay, 43, the equation of this line here. We're just going to do y equals mx plus b. So we start with the y. M is the slope. Change in y over change in x. All right, so I'm just going to go from one point to the other. So, let me see. I'm trying to think of the best way to explain it. You can go up, you can go either way. You can go from here to here, or you can go from here to here. All right, I want to show you on the graph. So I'm going to start here, going down, 1, 2, 3. Now, since I went down 3, the change in y is negative 3, because I went down 3. And now starting here, I'm going to go 1, 2. Since I went right 2, the change in x is positive 2. All right, so change in y over change in x is going to be negative 3 over 2 for m. The slope m is negative 3 over 2. That's going to be times x. And finally, the y-intercept b. All right, if I erase this mess here, the y-intercept, this right here is the y-axis. So where does it hit or intercept the y-axis? Right there. This is 0, 1, 2, 3. So the y-intercept b equals 3. So in place of b, it's going to be a positive 3. All right, again, these will be multiple choice, but that is your answer. In the diagram above, how do we know ACD is congruent to BCD? Okay, always with these triangles, the shared side, you want to mark that congruent to itself. All right, and we have two right angles that match. We have these two angles match. So we have two angles and a side. Now, is the side between the two angles? No, it is not. It is angle, angle, side. Angle, angle, side. So that's just AAS. And because these triangles are congruent, AD equals BD. All right, so for the last one for X, we know that AD equals BD. And you just set these equal. AD is 5x minus 9. BD is 3x plus 15. 5x minus 9 equals 3x plus 15. All right, solving for x. I like to subtract the smaller x. So I'm going to subtract the 3x. 5x minus 3x is 2x. Bring down the equals. 3x minus 3x is gone. Since x is over here, I want to get negative 9 on the other side. The opposite of negative 9 is positive 9. And it cancels here. 15 plus 9 is 26. This is x times 2. The opposite is divided by 2. And 26 over 2 is just 13. So x equals 13. If you want to test it, if you have time, you can just plug in 13. Make sure you get the same for both, if you have time.